Hi there, Cassandra here with Opera Appreciation for Black People. On this channel, I work to undo cultural misconceptions about opera and to teach you about how to appreciate more opera in your daily life. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much. And on today's video, we're going to talk about why you don't see more people of color in opera communities. So you're scrolling through YouTube, looking for a particular opera aria or even an art song, and you're wondering why you're only seeing all of these white people singing this particular song. And you're starting to wonder, do Black people even appreciate, perform, or even sing opera listen to opera on a regular basis? In this video, I'm going to share why there aren't more people of color involved in opera. So to answer the question, yes, of course, there are Black people in opera. Hello, example A, sitting right here in front of you. And in case you haven't seen an opera singer yourself, or you think that they're a unicorn that only exists frolicking around at the Metropolitan Opera, just know that there are hundreds, thousands of us all over the world of all different shapes and sizes and colors. And we're all here doing the dang thing, showing up for our opera careers a little bit every single day. So yes, we do exist, and we exist in a variety of colors. Why has it been so difficult for us to see more representation of people of color on the opera stages? And here is one of 3 reasons why. Sorry to say it, but good old-fashioned racism, yay! But racism plays a major part because the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City is considered one of the leading opera houses and the leader in cultural performing arts institution. It sets the tone of what is acceptable to the masses and to the world. In their 138-year history, they've kept a ledger of all of the operas that have been submitted to be considered for the Met stages. Basically, all of these wonderful stories from different perspectives that the Met has said, no thanks, sorry, we're not down for it. And so because of that, it took a pandemic and unfortunately the loss of a man's life being murdered that they realized that maybe there needed to be more inclusion. There are still a lot of practices in the operatic community that are terrible and that do not represent the equity of the people that perform these particular stories, which is what opera is. This basically these wonderful stories being performed on stage in song. Okay, reason number 2, education. Now, we're all at a time where we're experiencing the world do really crazy things when it comes to our education, that books are being banned and things are not being made available. But we've also seen for a really long time that arts in the education system is usually one of the first things to go when there's funding that's cut or when there is a change in the curriculum. It's usually the arts that gets minimized because somehow, for some reason, have lost sight of the value that having a music education for young minds does. And there's lots of studies online that show that music education really does provide a much better structure for young children and young minds so that they understand how to be better connected to their community and better communicators, as well as have better studying habits. There's a whole long laundry list of reasons, but ultimately a lot of teachers have expressed that they don't have time to bring in opera, even though they agree that it would really support and serve their communities and their children. They just feel like they don't have the time. Go on to reason number 3, culture. And this does play into the education or the lack thereof. And so unfortunately, in a lot of Black and brown communities, especially during a time when slavery was running rampant, there wasn't a lot of exposure to education. In fact, it was banned by law to educate people of color for many, many generations. So music was a huge portion of the Black experience and still is to this day. Opera sometimes gets left out of that because it's been so divided and seen as only a white thing, a European thing, a separate from requiring education thing. Evidence suggests that children are exposed to negative stereotypes about opera without receiving proper education on the subject, and thus more likely to not be interested in opera as they grow older. Well, if you don't expose a child to it and they only hear negative stereotypes around it, then they're going to assume that it's a negative thing before they even know by fully experiencing a thing if it's for them. Question of the day. Since this is a new channel and a new thought and a new idea, and opera is a really old idea, I thought, why don't I ask you guys, what do you want to hear about opera? What do you want to know about opera? And just know that this is a safe space that you can ask about opera, and I'm happy to answer those questions. As somebody who has been singing and performing and actively pursuing opera for well over 20 years, I definitely have some education to offer and share, and happy to do so in a safe and productive space. So use the comments box below. Feel free to type in your questions. I'm happy to see them and I'm excited to start a conversation. Are you an opera singer? Are you a young burgeoning opera singer and you've got questions that you want to ask of somebody who's like me, a couple steps ahead of the creative career process, and you want to know maybe something that you could do or support or whatever to be like, how do I bridge this gap between being a young artist or a student and becoming a full-time professional? Because that is definitely the world that I'm stepping into at this time, being a full-time professional and sharing my vision and my world and my experience here on YouTube with all of you. All right, that's my share for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely like or subscribe or leave a comment below with the questions that I just asked. Until next time, this is Opera Appreciation, making opera equitable. Ciao, ciao for now. Thanks guys, talk soon. Ciao.